After finishing 2008's Dead Space, I was quite the eager beaver when it came to booting up its historic successor. And less than 10 hours of gameplay later, I'd beaten the spooky space zombies sequel. So in this video, we're taking a look at the horrors of Dead Space 2, and how this 2011 survival horror game became a legend, and what many fans feel was the peak of a franchise. Dead Space 2 started development almost immediately after the 2008 original's release, as the first game was a critical and commercial hit. EA rebranded Redwood Shores into Visceral Games, their first dedicated genre studio focused on horror and action. They worked in parallel on Dante's Inferno at first, but shifted fully to the sequel once that wrapped. Key leaders like Glenn Schofield and Michael Condrey, whom had been driving forces behind the original Dead Space, left Visceral in 2009 to start Sledgehammer Games. So Visceral gave the reins of their spooky space game to Wright Bagwell, and were able to keep the core team intact, at one point peaking at about 150 people. Their goal was clear: expand the formula, give us a bigger setting on a civilian colony, deeper psychological horror for Isaac, more weapons and variety to answer fan complaints of repetitive gameplay, all of that while preserving the combat and themes of cosmic dread. Production took about 2.5 years, announced late 2009, shown off at E3 2010, and finally launching January 25th, 2011 on PS3, Xbox 360, and PC. Dead Space 2 garnered massive acclaim from critics and fans alike, and earned strong sales even though EA remained unsatisfied with financial figures.
What exactly does Canada want?
We want more money. Yeah, more money.
More money from where?
Just more money, you know. Canada doesn't get enough money.
We once again experience the sheer terror from over the slouched shoulders of Isaac Clarke. This time waking up in a psych ward on the Sprawl, a massive civilian space colony on the remnants of Saturn's moon Titan. 3 years after the events on the USG Ishimura, another marker has caused another outbreak.
Another one.
Starting off hot, Dead Space 2 really hits the ground running. We guide Isaac through the early stages of a necromorph outbreak, beginning even in a straitjacket, defenseless until we're finally helped out of our restraints. This is insane, creative, and terrifying. Unlike the first game, where we arrive on the Ishimura well after it's been taken over, which I compared to Jim's experience in 28 Days Later, on the Sprawl we get to watch everything unfold in real time. We bear witness firsthand to the panic and horrors twisting all of life, mirroring Danny Boyle's sequel 28 Weeks Later, when Hawkeye and the US Army try to stop the rage virus from retaking London.
Come on!
EarthGov does the same, desperately trying to contain the outbreak, while also stopping Isaac from destroying their marker. Isaac has evolved into a badass in Dead Space 2. In the first game, he's implied to be fearful and scared, desperately clinging to whatever keeps him alive. But now we see he's been through the traumatic events of the Ishimura and is pissed.
I have had it with these motherfucking
necromorphs
on this motherfucking
space station.
Everybody strap in! I'm about to open some fucking windows.
He's prepared to do whatever it takes to stop the spread and make it out alive. Our protagonist is given a voice in this installment, and the acting sells that rage and determination perfectly.
Emily, come in!
Isaac, we have to cross to the government sector before they cut us off. You'll never make it down here in time.
I'll be there!
Stay ready. I take care of Strauss.
Isaac, no. This is a really bad idea.
Stick around. I'm full of bad ideas.
The makers? You mean me? But Strauss said we could destroy the marker!
Not if we can kill you first.
God damn it, I trusted you! Fuck you! Fuck your marker!
Gameplay has evolved alongside Isaac, more terrifying ambiance as we go from the haunting aura of the Ishimura to a jam-packed colony full of life for necromorphs and the marker to twist and mold on Titan. The imagery in Dead Space 2 is more disturbing as well. We see all walks of life affected, including taking us through a daycare center and a school, exposing players to both infant and child necromorph variants. We're also exposed to more threatening action. This means danger is around every corner, and there's no such thing as a safe room. The marker torments Isaac with faster and stronger enemies than we faced on the Ishimura, made even more dangerous and scary by their far more vast numbers since the Sprawl provided many more victims than a single starship. Dead Space 2 showcases a brutal and unforgiving pace, keeping players on our heels as we're constantly running out of ammo, medkits, and standing alone against overwhelming odds. This pairs well with a story that is utterly enthralling, the perfect continuation of Isaac's character, his life, and a well-executed expansion of the universe's lore, giving insight into what EarthGov and the Unitologists actually want from both Isaac and the markers. From a technical view, Dead Space 2 is absolutely a step up in 2011 and still impresses today. It runs really smooth on high settings, and the graphics aren't amazing by modern standards, but they hold up well enough for a game well over 15 years old. We see this through improved lighting, particles, volumetric effects, dynamic destruction, and gore that lends well to making Isaac's surroundings look and feel more brutal than ever. Our environments are more varied and detailed thanks to our new setting on a well-established colony. Along with the daycare and school I mentioned before, we see ourselves going through hospitals, apartments, churches, and public spaces that all feel lived in and then violated and tainted by the marker. The sound design is fantastic and does much to create an unsettling atmosphere, building on the original with even more psychological layers. Constant whispers from the marker, Nicole's distorted voice beckoning us to give in to her, distant screams turning monstrous, and Isaac's sporadic hallucinations all pair well with Jason Graves' score, seeing as it's bigger and meaner, but sparse, letting silence, ambience, and surround sound do all of the heavy lifting. Chief Audio Director Andrew Boyd knew exactly how to make Dead Space 2 a masterclass of sound design, but make it feel different from the original.
Working on it focused in the same direction. One of the things that Dead Space 2 has that Dead Space 1 didn't is that it takes place in the living area. It's a functioning city that's just recently been evacuated. So there's a lot of opportunity for unusual spaces to find things, people's apartments, and there's a preschool that you get into. There's a lot of places where, taken out of context, now with the horror applied to them, are very scary.
Dead Space 2 has become an icon of horror, by succeeding in not only living up to the previous game, but taking every aspect a step further. More terrifying scares, more disturbing imagery, delivering stronger action with faster pace and an enthralling story. It balances crippling fear with empowerment, and expands established lore in meaningful ways, delivering one of the most satisfying climaxes of the genre. And this is definitely where Dead Space ends. Ellie and Isaac get married and live happily ever after. They totally didn't make a third Dead Space game that had 2/3 the budget of the last game, was mired in studio interference, and development was in a constant state of crunch until it released to poor reviews, poor sales, and leading to a hiatus of a once promising franchise for no less than 10 years.
It's fiction. We made it up. We made this one up. It's a made-up tale. It's a total fabrication. It never happened. It never happened. This one was invented by a writer. Not this time. It never happened.
If you made it this far into the video, thank you so much for watching, and please consider leaving a like and subscribing, and maybe leaving a comment with your feelings on Dead Space 2 or the franchise as a whole, because those are the best ways you can help me as a creator. I honestly love getting to talk about these older games. Stuff like Dead Space gave me some really great memories when I was growing up, and getting the chance to replay the series has been pretty great. That being said, I probably won't play Dead Space 3. It's just really not that good of a game. I remember playing it when it came out, and I wasn't even impressed at the time. I totally understand why we never got a fourth installment after how much of a letdown the third game was. Maybe I'll give it another shot just to see if I'd feel any differently today, but if I remember correctly, so much of it had to be changed just to accommodate a snowy planetside setting, and the fact that it was built with multiplayer in mind, that it's just so vastly removed from what made the first two versions of Dead Space not only scary, but also what made them fun. Until next time, this has been Cardboard Contraband, signing off.
The markers and nothing. Not you or your obsession with Ellie is gonna get in my way. You got that? I know I'm doing this.